Yo, welcome back to Flesh of the Gods. Yeah, we gonna continue where we left off. Well, actually, we gonna go ahead and do the whole what's her name? Sack Rider interview. Because hey, I went back and I was listening to somewhere we left off earlier. It was some crazy stuff, family. So I decided to go ahead and give her her own spotlight. And I got a couple other things also that we didn't play yet. So I'm gonna play some of those today. Appreciate y'all being here for round three. You know what I'm talking about, FOTG back for round three. But anyway, let's get into it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's get right into it, family.
Welcome to Flesh of the God.
Well, isn't this a nice surprise?
Thank you. Good afternoon, ma'am. Can you please say your full name for the record?
Nicole Sackrider,
And ma'am, where do you work?
Tampa Police Department.
How long have you worked there?
Nicole Sack
What does
Rider.
your job entail?
I'm a detective right now.
Okay. And as a detective, you're a detective in the homicide unit?
Not currently.
Okay. Back in May of 2022, were you a detective in the homicide unit?
Yes, I was.
And are there specific functions that go with that?
Yes.
Can you tell us what your job entailed?
We get called out after a homicide occurs, and we try to investigate from the beginning. If we get notified right away, investigate the homicide from the beginning to the end of the investigation.
Are different assignments given to the homicide detectives in the unit?
Yes, we have different assignments for different cases.
Okay. Well, I'd like to turn your attention to May the 6th, 2022. Were you working that day?
Yes, I was.
Did you respond to a particular location?
Yes.
Where did you respond to?
It was on, I believe it was 100 West Block of Flora Braska Avenue. It's a dead-end street.
Is that in Hillsborough County?
Yes, it is.
Why did you respond to that location?
My Sergeant Lipple called me. It was about a little after 4 in the morning and stated that the homicide had just occurred and requested I respond to the scene.
Okay. And did you in fact respond as soon as possible?
Yes, I did.
What time did you get to the scene?
About 5:16 in the morning, so about 45 minutes after my call.
And when you arrived on scene, what did you observe?
There were already officers on scene. They had crime scene tape around the perimeter to make sure that no one goes in or out.
Okay.
To contain the scene, and there are other supervisors and officers on scene as well.
Okay. And the moment you get to the scene, or even before, are you given specific assignments?
Yes, we are.
Were you given a specific assignment for this particular case?
Yes.
What was your assignment?
I was assigned to be the secondary officer, so there's a lead officer, and I work with the lead officer to investigate the case.
Okay. And as the secondary officer or detective, what exactly do you do?
Everything with the lead, we take primary lead of the case. We have other people that assist us if we need help, and we can assign them to help us out with whatever we need. Every case is different, takes us to different places, but so each one is unique, but we kind of know the overall what's going on with the case.
Okay. Upon arriving on scene, did you come in contact with Detective Whelan?
Yes,
Okay. And was he made the lead for this particular case?
he was.
Okay. And as lead, does he sort of direct the investigation to some extent?
Yes, he does.
But at Tampa Police Department, do you function together for the common goal of investigating the case?
Yes, even though we have different assignments, we all work together as a squad, which, we can kind of bounce ideas off each other, help each other out as needed. Like I said, each case is unique, but we work together as a squad, even though we have different assignments.
And so when you arrived on scene, did you make observations as it pertains to the scene, the condition of the body of Alexia Alexander and such?
Yes.
Okay. And while you were at the scene, did you come in contact with witnesses?
Yes.
And while you're at the scene, are you making sure that these witnesses are interviewed right there on scene?
Yes.
Okay. And is Detective Whelan taking the lead, though, as it pertains to the investigations and questioning?
Yes, he is. We work together.
Okay. Now, are all those interviews recorded
Yes.
to the
And so real quick, for any of those who ain't been following this, let me play a quick clip so y'all can get a little bit caught up with where we at.
Now the trial against Ronny Walker. He is the man accused of killing 14-year-old Alexia Alexander and leaving her body in a vacant lot in 2022. As 10 Tampa Bay's Frank Wiley explains, just a few hours ago, the only person who was with the two of them that night testified, and so did Alexia's mother.
He got mad and went to screaming and yelling, telling him, like, get out of his car, get out my car.
Robert Creed Jr. details what he says happened the night of May 6th.
I heard a gunshot. I looked in the bike seat, I seen her holding like her chest.
He says Walker had been driving around looking for Alexia that night. When she got in the car, he says Walker asked if she was having sex with others before shooting her. Prosecutors questioning whether the two had been in a relationship.
He's telling me, don't say nothing, don't tell nobody, don't tell nobody. Or he'll gonna kill me too.
Right now, Creed is facing charges for accessory after the fact. The defense arguing he's the real killer, saying he's just trying to put the blame on Walker.
One of the benefits that you've received is after agreeing to testify, the prosecution agreed to erase that bond for you.
They picked apart his testimony, during which he claimed he never met Alexia before that night, even though phone records show multiple conversations between the two, Creed claiming someone else used his phone.
Is it your testimony that somehow this coincidental friend in common that you have with Alexia Alexander gets a hold of your phone at almost 3 o'clock in the morning and they're communicating? Is that your explanation?
Yes, ma'am.
Alexia's mother also taking the stand today.
That was Alexia. I was Alexia.
Her mother detailing Alexia's behavioral issues after learning that she was adopted.
She started running away.
Do you personally know why she was running away?
Looking for her parents.
Her family later learned Alexia had a secret phone, but did not know who she was contacting. The trial resumes tomorrow.
Yeah, so Alexia Alexander, this is Ronny Walker, the one that was accused of killing her. And this is on the stand, Detective Sackrider.
The best of your ability, you see to it that they're always recorded.
That is correct.
And is it your goal to see to it that they're recorded at the time that the interview even begins? And in some cases, as you're walking up to the location?
Yes.
Okay.
And what up, Lady L? What up, She? Tack Clouds, appreciate y'all being the first ones here. Much love, much love.
Was that done in this case?
Yes.
And is it your goal to have these witnesses sworn to?
Yes.
And was that the case?
Yes.
All right. During this investigation, were you at the crime scene on May the 6th, early morning, as you have indicated, for quite a while?
Yes.
And did you interview the two individuals that were responsible for calling 911?
Yes.
And what are the names of those individuals?
There's a Terry Maddox that we interviewed, and also Eric Walker.
Okay. Beyond that, at some point, did you come in contact with Alan Wallace?
Yes.
And did you interview him that day?
We did.
Okay. Moving on, was a neighborhood survey done that day by Tampa police officers?
Yes.
And what's the purpose of doing that?
As soon as possible, we like to get as much information. So we go to every house looking for videos, witnesses, any additional information that might help us with evidence.
And was that done in this case?
Yes.
Okay. And to that end, did you also go door to door trying to find video surveillance that might have captured anything as it pertains to this case?
We did.
Did you do that along with other officers, or did you do it only with Detective Whelan?
I did with Detective Whelan. Other officers did it before. Usually when officers respond on scene, they try to get information, so they might respond to some residences in the area, but we did that as well,
Okay.
Detective Whelan and myself.
And in this case, were there any videos that you obtained in which Detective Whelan was not around or didn't download?
No, I believe we did pretty much everything together in this case.
Okay. And on May the 6th, what did the bulk of your investigation consist of?
We did the witness statements, and we also, bulk of it was looking for additional witnesses or video.
Okay. And did you continue to work on the case consistently almost through the month of May?
Yes.
And as you would learn more information, would you follow up, you and Detective Whelan follow up with such information?
Yes.
Okay. And as lead, is it Detective Whelan who would then take in all the information, more so than you, and kind of summarize in detail what work was done?
That's correct.
In this case, did you draft any subpoenas or search warrants?
Yes, I did.
Which ones did you do?
I did multiple. I did a search warrant for the vehicle that we located, the suspect vehicle. I did a search warrant for the infotainment center, which is like the information on the dash that you get for that vehicle.
Oh, I also meant to tell y'all too, I found some earlier stuff that I didn't have before, but I didn't have the full video, but I got the full clip now, so I'll play some of that too from the opening statements day.
As well, I did a subpoena for a phone number in this case. I may have done others, that's what I
They
recall.
had a straight crackhead on the stand, I ain't gonna lie. Straight up crackhead.
Right offhand.
Okay. But even then, when those things are done, it's Detective Whelan that will then document in detail work that is done in this case. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And during your investigation of this case, was it necessary that you and Detective Whelan determine the identity of the individual that you had found at Florida, Nebraska, and North Highland?
Yes.
Okay. And ultimately, did it come to pass that on the day of or so, she was identified as an Alexia Alexander?
Yes, that's correct.
Based on that identification, were you able to follow along and do further investigation in this case?
Yes.
Did a time come that you came in contact with Ronny Walker?
Yes.
What date was that?
Do you mind if I refer to my report?
You can use your report to refresh your memory.
I believe it was 9 days after the date of the offense, but I just want to check. We did multiple days of searching for video and
Would
looking
it
for
have
other
been May the 13th? Can you check
evidence.
and see if that's correct?
Yes.
Okay.
May the
And
13th.
under what circumstances did you come in contact with Mr. Walker?
We responded to it's Giant Motor Cars that's off of MLK in search for the suspect vehicle we had. We know that it was rented or purchased from that area. And so we
Guess I can
responded there and
speed
we
some of it up
observed the
since we
vehicle, and at
heard
that
most
point,
of it.
we made contact with Mr. Walker.
Okay. And when you made contact with Mr. Walker, was he in possession of this Ford?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And did you do anything, you and other law enforcement officers, which were arrested? Did you do anything to preserve that vehicle?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And was Mr. Walker with that same vehicle, that Ford Fusion?
Yes, he wasn't on the premise. He wasn't inside the vehicle when we made contact.
Okay. Did he acknowledge that it was his?
Yes.
In your presence?
Yes, he did.
Okay. On that day, when you came in contact with Mr. Walker, was he wearing glasses?
No.
Okay. I'm showing you what has been pre-marked as state exhibits F1 through 3. You're recognized the person depicted here.
Yes.
Okay. And who do you recognize this to be?
I recognize that as Mr. Walker.
Okay. And do you see him in court today?
Yes, I do.
Can you please point him out by an article of clothing?
Is a white shirt and a jacket.
May the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant. Okay.
Brown
When you came in
sugar
contact
babe.
with
What up, though, Brown Sugar? Appreciate you joining. Greetings, all.
Mr. Walker, was he the person in possession of the Ford Fusion?
Yes, he was.
Was Robert Creed there with him?
No, not at that time.
Did you and other law enforcement officers secure the vehicle?
Yes, we did.
And then what did you do with that vehicle?
There's an officer that follows the vehicle from the tow truck. It's sealed by the crime scene technician to make sure that the inside's secure. and then an officer will follow it with the tow company to our impound lot where it's secured.
And was that done in
Yes, it
this
was.
particular case?
Yes.
Okay. And then did you and Detective Whelan obtain a search warrant for the vehicle?
Correct. I authored a search warrant that was signed by the judge, and then we executed it that same night.
Did you properly execute it? Did you read the search warrant to the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And was that search warrant executed on May the 13th of 2022 or thereabouts?
I believe it went into the night. I know that we worked a very long day, and we didn't get home till 4 or 5 in the morning. It was very long, so it was either that night of or the morning of. It could have flown in between.
Were you present when the vehicle was searched?
Yes, I was.
Were you present when it was processed?
Yes.
Was it processed for blood?
Yes.
Okay. And based on the information from the processing of that vehicle, were swabs collected from that vehicle?
Yes, there were multiple swabs that were collected.
Is it customary to send those items, the swabs, to FDLE?
Yes.
Was that done in this case?
Yes.
Were items that were inside the vehicle also documented, collected, and packaged?
Yes.
In the vehicle, was there a jacket, a black jacket?
Yes, there was.
Okay. Did that jacket later on become relevant to this case?
Yes.
Okay. I am showing you State Exhibit B1 through 6. Can you please look at
Thank you.
this item?
Brown sugar bag. I get high off of
Is this an accurate depiction of the photograph of the car that you came in contact with on May the 13th?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, moving into evidence State Exhibit B1 through 6. Thank you. All right, publishing F1. Is this as Mr. Walker appeared on May the 13th?
Yes.
Okay. Did you note any injury to him? Do you remember?
I don't recall.
Okay. State Exhibit F2 and State Exhibit F3. Mr. Walker?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I think there's some confusion as to the exhibit numbers. B1 through 6 should be photographs of the vehicle.
This is F I'm publishing.
I don't think those have been admitted.
I just did. I thought I admitted this.
Reference them, but you didn't ask them.
I apologize.
Okay.
I move into evidence State Exhibit F1 through 3.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
F1 through 3 will be admitted.
Okay. I move into evidence, if not done, State Exhibit B1 through 6.
Those are
Okay. A permission to publish?
granted.
Okay. State Exhibit B1. Is this at the Giant Motors lot?
Yes, it is.
And this is how you found the vehicle, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And was it documented at location?
Yes.
B2?
Yes.
Okay. B3?
Yes, on the vehicle.
Are you familiar with this make and model of a vehicle?
I am.
How so?
Our detectives.
Man, you see how quick she going through exhibits? Remember when Love was up there? She'd be up there 2 days going through them things.
Drive Ford Fusions, similar style. So it's very familiar. A lot of detectives are driving those in our department.
Okay. B5?
Yes.
Now, when you were B6?
Yes.
Okay. When you were reviewing, well, you mentioned that you and Detective Whelan looked for video ad nauseum, correct?
That is correct.
And is it safe to say that in this particular case, Tampa Police Department collected numerous videos?
Yes, that's correct.
And were some deemed to be relevant for this case?
Yes,
But then ultimately there were some that became quite relevant, is that correct?
that is correct.
All right. And so in reviewing these photographs, you said that some of your detectives have driven this exact make and model, is that correct?
Yes.
Have you ever driven one?
Yes, multiple.
Okay. Do you know if Detective Whelan has ever driven one? Do
Yes.
you know?
I believe he still does.
Okay. So with that, in reviewing the
Drop some KSPNs in the chat. Cat said, how I walk right into love shade. Yeah, facts.
vehicle from the crime scene, I'm specifically directing you to that 3000 North Highland video in which you see the vehicle go to this location and then turn around at the dead end. Do you know the one I'm speaking of?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Were you able to review that video with Detective Whelan?
Yes.
Did you make a determination as to the make and model of the vehicle?
It appeared to be a Ford Fusion.
Okay. And was this in sync with the information that you had learned from Ellen Wallace?
Yes.
Okay. So as you continue to review, to work on this case, did there come a time in which, well, specifically, first on May the 13th of 2022, did you obtain a buccal swab from the defendant, Ronny Walker?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And I am showing you, did a crime scene investigator, was a crime scene investigator present when this was done?
Yes.
Okay, but you have personal knowledge of that being done?
Correct.
Okay, and was it done by Miss Calderero?
That is correct.
Okay, showing you State Exhibit 26, is this the packaging and the information as it pertains to this case for that buccal swab?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Your Honor, the state would move into evidence State Exhibit 26.
No objection.
Okay, showing you,
Will be amended.
thank you, showing you State Exhibit 24, is this the packaging and information as it pertains to Robert Creed?
Yes, it is.
And did you come in contact with Robert Creed during the investigation of this case?
Yes, I did.
Did you personally package and collect the DNA for Mr. Creed?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, moving into evidence State Exhibit 24.
Will be amended, states 24 without objection.
Okay, thank you. As it pertains to DNA swabs, how does one go about collecting a sample DNA from an individual?
There are two swabs. It's almost like a Q-tip, and then you place it into the back, like the molars, the gum area of the mouth, and you wipe against the cheek, and the DNA will be extracted onto the Q-tip and placed in a secured, it's a cardboard box, and then it's all placed into evidence from there after it dries.
Okay. And is the goal to do this, to test this DNA against other possible evidence in the case?
That is correct.
Okay. And was protocol followed in this particular case?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we have talked about a particular jacket that was in the Ford Fusion. You were present during the search of that vehicle, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Showing you what is in evidence as State Exhibit C34. Is this that jacket?
Yes.
Okay. And what was your understanding about the date of May the 6th of 2022? Was it a particularly cold day? You were out there, correct?
Correct.
Was it a cold day?
No.
Did you wear a jacket that day?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Bruh.
Now, in your review of videos, I know that you and Detective Whelan collected multiple videos. What was the goal of collecting videos and going from location to location?
In this case, we were looking for a path of travel, the ingress and the egress, to find out possibly where the vehicle had come from, where it went afterwards, if it stopped anywhere, we can get additional video of the occupants of the vehicle.
And did you ultimately get a distance and the direction of travel of this vehicle?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And did you and Detective Whelan document that in a map?
Yes, we did.
Okay. To that end, did you come upon the location of a Thornton's on Hillsborough Avenue?
Yes.
Did video from that Thornton's become relevant to this case?
Yes.
Okay. Was there anything significant about that video as we discussed the jacket that we just talked about?
Yes.
Okay.
Sweetie! You soft.
Now, during your investigation of this case, did you and Detective Whelan become aware of a phone number that would have been associated with Alexia Alexander?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And did you and Detective Whelan seek to obtain a copy of that 911 call?
Yes.
And is the date for that 911 call April the 23rd of 2022?
That is correct.
Okay. And with that information, did you and Detective Whelan then seek to obtain CDRs and a search warrant for that phone number?
Yeah.
Cat brought the whole gang with her and the popcorn. What up, FFS? What up, Jazzy T? Appreciate y'all joining.
Okay. Was that search warrant or subpoena executed in this case?
It was.
Based on the information that you learned from, you and Detective Whelan learned from that phone, did that open up the case more and bring more information to your attention?
It did.
Okay. And is that something that you and Detective Whelan worked on together?
Yes.
Ultimately, did the phone records associated with Alexia Alexander lead you and Detective Whelan to go to the location of Tampa General Hospital?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And what was it that caused you and Detective Whelan to go to that location?
It's called the time in advance. It shows where, in general location, where the phone is bouncing off the different towers. So it kind of travels along as the phone is moving throughout the area. Not exact, but in a general location.
Okay.
And at some point, that phone was at Tampa General Hospital, which is an island. If you're familiar with the area, it's kind of an island, so only so much land there. Not a lot of houses around there because it's surrounded by water. And so it showed us that specific area, so that's why we responded to the hospital. And
when you responded to that hospital, did you and Detective Whelan request anything there?
Yes, we spoke with the employee there that provided us access to the video surveillance, which the hospital has pretty good video surveillance cameras there, so we were able to review those.
And are any of the video surveillance systems from Tampa General, do any of them actually capture license plates?
Yes, they have one at the exit that captures the license plates as the vehicles are exiting the hospital.
And based on what you and Detective Whelan reviewed, did you collect video from there?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And did you make contact with other witnesses based on the video from Tampa General Hospital?
Yes.
Okay. Was there anything significant about the front passenger that you observed from the Thornton's video and from the Tampa General Hospital?
The front passenger in both videos appeared to be the same build and also wearing the same clothing.
Subsequent to you finding and collecting that video, did you ultimately identify that person, Robert Creed?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
You're welcome.
And based on were you present when Robert Creed was interviewed for the very first time in association with this case?
So y'all know Robert Creed. We showed a little bit of him today. We showed his full testimony yesterday. That's the one that was there in the car with him during the shooting. What up, late night? I see you. Appreciate you joining.
Recall
Cat out here passing out popcorn.
At the jail.
Okay.
We had an interview.
Okay. And in his initial interview to law enforcement, based on the answers that he provided, ultimately, was Mr. Creed charged with accessory after the fact to first-degree murder?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Would that have been before Ronnie Walker was charged or after? Do you know?
I recall it after, but I don't remember the exact dates.
Will your report or the reports for this case help refresh your memory?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Do you have a
Yes,
copy?
do you mind if I
Okay.
refer?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
It would be on the 28th of July.
That what happened?
Is when we interviewed Mr. Creed.
Okay. Do you know when he was charged?
All right. While we warming up to that, let me show y'all a little bit of what we missed out on, because her testimony is a little bit lengthy, but not too much.
Saying this, but every time y'all come back and ask you if you followed the court's instructions, no issues, nobody bothered you or talked about the case, you didn't see anything about the case.
There go Judge Harley Davidson.
Anything about the case? Everything's good? See you, thank you very much. State, you call your first witness.
Your Honor, at this time the state would call Eric Walker.
Let's talk about Eric Walker.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Where the camera at? I want to see how. Oh, it's a handicap roll up. Okay. I'm about to say, I want to see him pop him up the stairs.
Yes, ma'am. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please state your full name for the record?
Eric Leonard Walker,
Sir, where do you currently live?
2926 Tampa Street.
Is that where you lived back in May of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
How long had you lived there?
I've been there 7 years.
Okay. Well, sir, I'd like to turn your attention to May the 6th of 2022, around 3:08 a.m.
Yes.
What were you doing around that time?
We was hanging out in the yard, gambling, hanging, smoking, family things.
Okay. Can you please get the microphone a little bit closer?
Okay.
And make sure it's on. Is it on? Is the green light on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you were just hanging out with other people.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know do you remember the people you were hanging out with?
It was several of us, a whole gang of us, cause like I say, with that spot we hang out and be us.
Okay. And while you were spending time with other people, hanging out, what, if anything, of significance happened?
Well, we was walking towards the gate, coming out the gate, and it was a gunshot that caught our attention. Okay. So after the gunshot, we heard a few more. So a few more shots. Yes. So I got on the bicycle to circle the block to see what was going on. Okay. So as I
Okay, they got the same last name, but they not brothers. I was wondering if they was brothers, but I guess not.
got to the Highland and Florida, Nebraska, which is a dead end, I come down, cause it's right by a house. You could yell across the gate. Okay. And
a whole gang of us? Here come Fanny.
I see somebody, a girl, laying on the side. So I yell and tell her I think it's a body back here. So I try to get help for her, running to door trying to get help.
Did you have a cell phone?
I didn't have a cell phone at the time, okay. So I had to go back because nobody would answer the doors. But I was on the Ring cameras at people's houses. Okay. I think they called the police on me because I was knocking too hard. Okay. So I went back to get help for somebody to call 911 with me.
So who did you go to get help?
I went and got Terry, one of my friends, Maddox.
Okay. And how far away would you say she was from where you saw the body?
After both of us got there, we was at the road. We was standing in the road first before the 911 operator asked, could we go up there and see if she's alive? Okay. But now one of us wouldn't do it.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Would you say that from the time that you heard the 911 call, the shots, to the time you made the 911 call, there was a bit of a delay?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. I'd say it was probably like 5 to 6 minute delay because I had to come back around to go get some help.
Okay, but you don't really know, did you have a watch? Were you paying attention to the time frame?
No, ma'am.
Okay, but you do know that there was a delay,
Yeah,
correct?
It was a delay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you saw this individual, did you recognize her as someone that you had seen before in the area?
I speculated it was one of the girls that be around there. You feel me? So
you speculated, but did you recognize the individual?
No, I didn't recognize her at all.
So you had never seen her before?
No, I never got up close to the girl until the 911 operator asked to try to get up there and see if she's living.
Okay, so while you make the 911 call, how do you get about the position where you make the 911 call? Was it Terry Maddox's phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did she make the call or did you make the call?
She made the call. Okay. I was still knocking on doors as she was making the call.
But ultimately, did you chime in and also speak during that 911 call and give more information to the 911 officer?
Yeah, because she was on speakerphone. She had the phone on speaker, and I could hear the operator. Okay. Like I say, she was trying to see if one of us would go up there to see if she was alive but now one of us would do it.
But did you get closer and determine that she was not responsive?
I didn't get that close. You feel me? I just stepped right on the grass line, right outside the road. That's it.
And sir, this location, this Florida, Nebraska, and Highland, is that in Hillsborough County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, ma'am.
Or actually, yes. Have I shown you photographs from the crime scene, sir?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, do you recognize these, the images in these photographs?
Yeah.
Are they a fair and accurate representation of the location that you went to on
Yes.
May the 6th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state would move into evidence State Exhibit A1 through 8.
Any objection?
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Publishing State Exhibit A1. Is this the location that you went to, Florida, Nebraska, and Highland?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And can you describe that location for us?
Yeah, it's on the dead end. It's on the dead end. It's one house on the left hand side. Then it's an open field.
So it was like just an empty lot?
Yeah, just empty lot.
Okay. So State Exhibit A2, is this an accurate depiction of this empty lot area?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. A3, is this how you found the body?
Yes, ma'am.
A4,
Yes, ma'am.
in the time in which you saw this body and went back to get someone who had a phone, did the movement of was the body moved in any way?
No, ma'am. She
Okay.
was still the same.
She remained in that exact same
Yes, ma'am.
position?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Did you tamper with any evidence in this case?
No, ma'am.
Did you move the body in any way?
No, ma'am.
Did you touch this body or shove this body?
No, ma'am.
Okay. State Exhibit A5. Okay. Again, is this another angle?
Yes, ma'am.
Getting a little closer.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
State Exhibit A7.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's get it clear. Okay. Okay. Did you have anything to do with the death of this individual?
No, ma'am.
And beyond hearing the gunshots and getting on your bike and looking to see if someone was injured, did you have any other involvement in this?
No, ma'am.
And after you called 911, did you stay on scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you give a statement to the initial officers when they asked you what you saw and what you heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Terry Maddox stay on scene and do the same?
Yes, ma'am.
Later on, did detectives arrive on scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they also interview you?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it recorded to
Yes.
your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you completely cooperate with the process?
Yes, ma'am.
And at the time, on May the 6th of 2022, were you in a wheelchair?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So at the time you could walk, you could ride your bike, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And at the time when you got on your bicycle and went into this location and saw this body, were there multiple people just
No.
around this body?
No,
Okay.
ma'am. The only one that showed up was the police, and we pointed
Okay.
where it was.
And that's all, to your knowledge, that's all the involvement. When the police arrived, then people started showing up.
Yeah,
Is
saw
that
it coming
correct?
out the door. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But before then, there were no civilians.
No civilians.
Okay. All right, Your Honor, may I have a moment?
You may.
All right, no further questions.
Thank you. Hi, good morning.
Hello.
Mr. Walker, you have no relation to Ronnie Walker. is
No,
that
ma'am.
Right, just happened to have the same last name.
Yeah.
Wanted to make that clear.
Yes, ma'am.
You're in a wheelchair today because you've had knee surgery.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you said you were kind of hanging out with some friends near where you live when you heard the gunshots.
Yes, ma'am.
This area at that time of night, we're talking sometime around or after 3 o'clock a.m., there's quite a few people out and about. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
And in fact, the reason why you hopped on your bike to go around the corner is because you wanted to check and make sure it was nobody that you knew that got hurt.
Well, that's not the question. What caught my attention was the gunshot.
Of course.
Okay.
After you heard the gunshots, you wanted to make sure that no one that you knew was involved.
Right.
Okay. And that's when you happened to come upon the young lady that was on the ground.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you first saw her, tell me if I'm wrong, but would it have taken you, let's say, less than 5 minutes from where you heard the gunshots to the time that you actually go and see her?
Well, I traveled a couple of blocks over. You feel me? Just make the round back to where my area.
Okay, so we're talking a couple of blocks and you're on your bike.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then you try and get some help. Nobody will answer the door for you.
Yes, ma'am. I tried to get the help first. I started knocking on doors. My bicycle was in the middle of the street. You feel me?
Sure.
Okay, I started knocking on doors. Nobody would come to the door. All you see was lights coming on. You feel me?
Okay. And that's when you decided to go back and get
He said, you feel me? She said, sure.
Miss Maddox.
Just get somebody else to help me.
And then when you went back to the scene with Miss Maddox, were you both on bikes at that point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so again, just a couple of minutes from that couple of blocks over?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So all in all, the time between when you heard the gunshots to the time that you called 911 or Miss Maddox calls 911, what is the time frame that we're looking at?
I say I give it like 5 to 8 minutes.
Okay. Can I have a moment, Your Honor? All right, nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, sir, today, is that the first time that you've had an opportunity to speak to me and Ms. Dunker?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have you had an opportunity to listen to the 911 call?
No, ma'am.
Or watch any of the body-worn camera?
No, ma'am.
Or to be fresh in the time frame in this case?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So if the evidence is that at 3:08 the gunshots were fired and the 911 call comes in at 3:58.
Objection. Can we approach Your Honor?
Come on up.
So you have been asked a lot about timing, and is it safe to say that on the day you didn't check your watch, correct?
No, ma'am.
You didn't ask the deputies, hey, what time is it? How long have I been riding around or anything?
No, ma'am.
So the time frame that we have is that the shots were fired at 3:08, and the 911 call that you ultimately got Terry Maddox to make was 3:58.
Okay.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're just doing the best you can.
Yes, I was just trying to get her some help. That's it.
Okay. But you acknowledge that you heard the shots, you talked to other people, is that correct?
Yeah, I didn't talk to nobody but Terry and the police.
Okay.
But when I went back to get them, I told people, I said, I think there's somebody around.
Okay.
That was it.
All right. And then ultimately you then had to look for someone to help you with the phone.
To go with me to help me.
All right. So there was, in fact, a delay.
Yes, ma'am.
And so when you use words like a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, you're just doing the best you can to give a time frame. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Ms. Willis, be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Free to go, so you can start talking about the case until it's over.
Yes.
Definitely leading. So now we're going to get back to, before we get to that, we're going to get back to Sack Rider. But before we get to Sack Rider, let's play a little clip for those who don't know what's going on.
Ashley Alexander hasn't yet seen in person the man prosecutors say shot her daughter, Nalexia, in the dead of night. But that day is rapidly approaching.
He took a decision to pull a trigger and took my baby from me. And that changed the world for my family and I.
Prosecutors and defense attorneys have spent nearly a week picking a jury. Back in 2022, when police were still trying to ID Nalexia through a tattoo, Police said she was found in a field off of Flora-Braska Avenue and that she was seen on video getting into Ronny Walker's car at 3 a.m. on May 6th. But for now, only lawyers know what for.
I do want to know the motive. I want to know what she could have done, what she could have said.
Ashley adopted Nalexia when she was 4, after years shuffling through foster homes. Nalexia became obsessed with finding her birth parents. But when an opportunity to meet them went south, her mother says Nalexia ran away time and again. How she met Walker in the first place is still unknown to her mother.
I'm leaning on justice. I pray the jurors listen out to the evidence that the prosecutors have. And I pray they understand this was a child that was taken by a grown man.
Walker was given a life sentence for manslaughter in 2010, but was let out after an appeal in 2016. This time, an accused accomplice might also testify. Robert Creed is charged with accessory to murder after the fact and may have been in the car that night. For now, Walker is waiting. Ashley is waiting for 2 things: for justice and for something that will never come.
But you still find yourself calling her name, looking forward to see her come out the room, looking forward to see her in the kitchen cooking. The house went silent when he killed her. Everything in the house stopped. There was no more life in our home.
Welcome to Flesh of the God.
Well, isn't this a nice surprise?
FFS says Sack Rider is a wild name. Hold on. Yeah, it's a sad thing for real. It's a crazy story. Very crazy story. That's a fact. FFS says Sack Rider. Dang, it keep moving. Is a wild name. Wild as fuck. He gonna be really popular in jail. Nah, this is her name, not the dude's name. This is her name. She is Sack Rider. This is Sack Rider on the stand. Let's get back into it. But yeah, it's a sad story though. Girl was only 14. These dudes like 40-something, 48, 40-something. It's 2 dudes in the car riding around with this girl and just pulled up and shot her on the side of the road, man. I don't know. Crazy stuff.
I believe it was around that date.
Okay, and how about Mr. Walker?
That was prior. What's the exact date? Sorry, I have a lot of dates on here.
It's okay.
I don't have the date of the warrant.
Okay, all right. We'll move on. But Detective Whelan would have been in charge of most of that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So ultimately, Mr. Creed was charged with accessory after the fact. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that is correct.
Okay. And in any of the footage that you looked at any point in time, did you receive any video footage of Robert Creed, the person that you now know to be Robert Creed, in the driver's seat of the vehicle?
No, I did not.
Okay. Is there any additional information that you completed in this case that Detective Whelan was not associated with?
No, the warrants that I wrote and the subpoenas, I wrote them, but he also helped collect the evidence or the results from that. Other than that, we worked together on the case.
Okay. Your Honor, may I have a moment, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Watch some of the faces later. The sound gonna go out, but we gotta keep watching without the sound because the faces she started making at the camera, like she be looking straight at the camera. I mean, not straight at. She glancing at it. Not right now. Oh, like kind of like that. But.
Yes, cross.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello.
I'll actually just pick up where Ms. Fawcett left off. She asked you about Mr. Creed being charged with accessory after the fact, correct?
That is correct.
What was the probable cause to charge Mr. Creed with accessory after the fact?
In this case, we had him on video directly after the homicide occurred, you know, within a few miles of the scene at the Thornton's gas station. And also the following day, or I guess it'd be the same day, just later in the afternoon, he was also on video in the same vehicle, same location of the vehicle, traveling around after it occurred. So he's been with him the entire time, and has not, you know, attempted to get help, attempted to disclose any of the information during that time.
So essentially,
It keeps sounding like to me like she about to say, dude, we about to rip this wave, dude.
the probable cause was that Mr. Creed was with the vehicle that was believed to be associated with Nalexia's death.
That is correct.
Okay. When Mr. Creed was interviewed, you were present during that July interview, correct?
Correct.
And that's the one that happens at the Pinellas County Jail?
That is correct.
During that interview, there was discussions with Mr. Creed about the charges that he would be charged with in this case. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall him being informed that if he hadn't told you Mr. Walker was the shooter, he was going to be charged with murder?
I don't recall that.
You don't remember that? Do you recall several times during that interview you asked Mr. Creed to tell you, like he's telling a story, what happened to Nalexia Alexander? Do you remember asking him multiple times?
Yes.
Do you also remember every time you asked him that, the only thing Mr. Creed would say is everything that what Detective Whelan said is what happened? Do you remember him saying that?
Can you rephrase what you're saying?
Sure,
I don't
let
understand.
me use quotes actually. Do you recall when Mr. Creed was asked to give you a story about what happened, he responded, everything y'all are saying, that's what happened. Do you remember him saying that?
Yes, I guess if he said that, I don't recall the context.
Okay. And do you remember him saying that over and over and over again throughout that interview?
Talk about she don't recall. You don't recall. That was the only thing he was saying. Every time she asked him a question, that was his only answer is, yeah, whatever y'all said, whatever the detective said, what he said, yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened.
No, I don't recall that being a repetitive thing.
You don't remember that?
No.
Do you remember the details of that interview much? Let me start there.
Yes.
Okay. If you saw a transcript of that interview, would that help refresh your recollection as to the number of times Mr. Creed said, everything that you all are saying is what happened? Would that help you?
Yes, you can give me the number.
Okay. For me to do that. Continue that and let me know if that refreshes your recollection.
Yes.
Page 6, line 40, if you can have a look at that and let me know if that refreshes your recollection.
Yes.
Page 7, lines 2 through 7, if you can have a look at that. And let me know if that refreshes your recollection. Line. All right, line 32.
Basically, she went through like 6, 7 different.
I'm sorry, line
parts.
29 through line 32.
It was like 6, 7 different areas of that.
Does that help
interview.
refresh your recollection as to whether Mr. Creed repeatedly said, my story is exactly what he said?
Yeah, this is said a few times that you pointed out.
Right, right. So essentially every time someone was asking Mr. Creed, tell us the story of what happened, he was essentially saying, whatever Detective Whelan said, that's what happened. Is that the sum of what's going on there?
And that's why we asked them multiple times. We want to know from you, your words, the truth of what happened.
Of course, of course. Okay. You referenced a few times a report that you have. Is that common for detectives and law enforcement officers to write a report with regard to their involvement in this case?
Yes.
And when you write a report, that report is provided to the state attorney's office as well as to defense counsel, correct?
Yes.
And of course, the report that is provided to defendants such as Mr. Walker and Mr. Creed, correct?
Yes.
And that report details all of the steps that are taken during your investigation, correct?
That is correct.
In theory, that's what it's supposed to do. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You wrote a pretty lengthy report in this case, correct?
It was 16 pages.
16 pages. And Detective Wieland did the same, correct?
I believe his was a little bit longer.
Probably a little bit longer. He was the lead detective, right?
Correct.
Watch when the cross
You mentioned that there were
the recross come up though.
several other interviews that you were present for the early morning hours of May 6th.
Redirect.
Shortly after the shooting, correct?
Yes.
Now, when you interview witnesses, would you agree with me that it is important to separate them so they don't overhear what one another is saying?
Yes.
Is it equally as important not to give the witness too much detail because you want to know from them what happened?
Correct.
Can I have a moment, please, Your Honor?
Watch on redirect. The prosecutor gonna be trying to get her to answer one way, and she keep messing up the answers. Like you should be able to answer these questions very easily. I'm setting them up for you to, obviously, and she's still answering wrong.
Just a couple of additional questions. You mentioned that you met with Mr. Walker along with Detective Wieland on May 13th of 2022, correct?
Yes.
That was a pretty lengthy meeting that you had with Mr. Walker, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, it spanned over multiple hours, and you all even went to multiple locations.
Correct.
And you went from, I believe, his place of employment to a shopping center, and then ultimately to a district office for additional information, correct?
Yes. I was not present at the shopping center, but the other two I was.
Okay, all right. Mr. Walker voluntarily responded and provided information every step of the way, correct?
Yes.
You also mentioned that you were present for the taking of his buccal swab, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Walker was volunteering, willing, and able, and cooperative in providing that buccal swab.
Correct. He provided consent.
Same with the car. He was willing to provide you all, I'm sure he wasn't happy about it, but willing to provide you all with the car to take with you.
That is correct.
And he also had a phone in his pocket that he provided or gave to you, or Detective Wieland.
Yes.
While you were investigating the case along with Detective Wieland, were you aware that there were certain articles being written up in the press about the case and the investigation?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
No.
Do you recall seeing or hearing, and I don't want to know what it was said if you do, but seeing or hearing about any interviews given by Alexia Alexander's mother in the press?
No, I don't watch the news or read the paper, so that wasn't anything I was privy to.
Okay, all right. Can I have a brief moment, please?
The evidence is going to show that anything that I may have said, they exacerbated it.
You have been asked about the conversation that you and Detective Wieland had with Robert Creed.
Yes.
Was there anything in the investigative method in which you interviewed Robert Creed that was inappropriate based on protocol?
No.
And even under the law, is it permissible for a law enforcement officer and a detective such as yourself to tell a witness the ramifications of their actions?
Yes.
And was it necessary for you to allow Mr. Creed to tell you what happened?
Yes.
And during that interview, the first interview with Mr. Creed, did he in fact lie to you?
She came back with a little attitude, huh? She got a little spice on her tongue.
Yes.
Okay. Did he identify himself as a possible person who was in the video at Thornton's and at Thornton's? Do you remember?
I remember him saying it looked like him. I don't recall if he actually identified himself.
Okay. But ultimately, did he admit to being present at the time of the homicide of Alexia Alexander?
Yes.
Later on he did, but in the first interview, did he lie about that?
Correct.
Look, there go one. There go one. She had to correct her. Later on he did, but why did you understand if I gotta correct you?
Yes.
Later on he did, but in the first interview, did he lie about that?
Correct, during the first interview.
Is it permissible for one to lie during the investigation of a premeditated first-degree murder case. Is it permissible to do so?
Yes, it happens frequently.
Is it permissible under the law to do so?
No.
Okay. And based on the fact that Robert Creed lied to you to do so?
Yes, it happens frequently.
Is it permissible under the law to do so?
No.
Okay. And based on the fact that Robert Creed lied to you and to Detective Wieland about Ronnie Walker and his involvement, was that an obstruction in the investigation in this case?
Yes, it was.
Was it to that end that he was then ultimately charged with accessory after the fact?
That is correct.
And based on the evidence that you had and still have today, did you have any evidence that would link him to the actual homicide,
No.
the shooting? Okay.
We did not.
Are you familiar with the principal theory?
Yes.
Okay. Based on the principal theory, the person who drove to that location and drove away from that location, would that person have been, even if not the shooter, a principal to first-degree murder?
That is.
Objection, Your Honor, to relevance and improper.
Ultimately, in this particular case, is it based on the lie that Robert Creed told that he was arrested for accessory after the fact?
That is correct.
Okay. And would hearing dates of the arrest help possibly refresh your memory as to the arrest dates in this case?
Yes.
So if the arrest date for Ronnie Walker was July the 6th of 2022, does that sound correct?
Yes.
And if the arrest date for Robert Creed was July the 27th of 2022, does that sound correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Now, while you were investigating this case with Detective Whelan, did you come in contact with a person named David White?
Yes.
Did you ultimately learn that his nickname was Day Day, or D-A-E-D-A-E?
Yes.
Okay. And to that end, did you and Detective Whelan make contact with that individual?
We did.
During that conversation with Mr. White, did he identify Ronnie Walker as the individual in the Thornton's video?
Yes, he did.
In that same interview, did David White identify Robert Creed as the individual coming out of this vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And did Mr. White specifically tell you that he grew up with both of them?
Yes, he did.
Objection to hearsay.
Goes to impeachment.
I'll rule objection.
Okay. Did he specifically tell you, back then in 2022, when you interviewed David White, did he specifically tell you that they all grew up together?
Yes, he did.
Did he specifically tell you that Robert Creed and Ronnie Walker were often together?
Objection to hearsay as well as leading.
Goes to impeachment, Your Honor.
If you could rephrase it, I'll allow it.
Okay. What did Mr. White tell you about the relationship between Robert Creed and Ronnie Walker?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
He stated that.
Did she say yes?
They
And tell you about. What did Mr. White tell you about the relationship between Robert Creed and Ronnie Walker?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
He stated that they were together often, that they were known to be friends.
Okay. Did you and Detective Whelan show David White photographs from the video from Thornton's?
Yes, we did.
And what did Mr. White say as to the identification of the individual depicted in State Exhibit E1?
In that picture, that's the entrance of Thornton's. He stated that that's Ronnie Walker.
Okay. I mean, to be clear, he said, yeah, that's Ronnie, and then he said it looks like him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. State Exhibit E4. And again, you're actually showing the video, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because at that point, you guys are still in the investigation.
And these are still shots from the video?
Are these still shots that were shown as well to these witnesses?
Yes.
Was this shown to David White?
Yes.
And did David White identify Ronnie Walker from this video?
Yes, he did.
Did you come in contact with Erica Sweet at the Giant Motos parking lot?
Yes, she responded there.
Was she there with Ronnie Walker?
No, she came after we made contact with him.
Okay, but did they make it known that they were together?
Yes.
And during the investigation of this case, did a phone number become relevant to this investigation?
Yes, it did.
Specifically, was it a 305 number that was associated with Erica Sweet?
That is correct.
Why? Why was that phone number relevant to this investigation, ma'am?
That was her phone number, and at that time, I wrote a subpoena on that or a search warrant after we revealed that number.
Okay. Did there become something significant about the movement of the phone number as it pertained to Erica Sweet and the phone number as it pertained to Alexia Alexander on May the 6th of 2022?
Yes.
What was significant about it?
Both of and as I explained before, the time in advance kind of bounces off towers and shows direction of travel or as the phone is traveling. And at this case, the phone that we had for Alexia mirrored the path of travel that we had found on the vehicle in video up to Tampa General Hospital, and also prior to. And that night we had the phone for the time in advance for Sweet's number mirrored up to the Thorntons in the same direction of travel that the vehicle and the other phone had went. So if you look at a map, it pretty much goes in the same direction.
Okay. So is it consistent with whoever is in possession of the 305 number that is associated with Erica Sweet, and whoever is in possession of the victim's phone in this case would have been in sync, functioning, and moving in the same direction? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And
so for those of you who don't know what they talking about, after they shot the girl, I guess she must have dropped her phone in the back seat, and so he was still driving around with the phone in the back seat. That's how they was tracking them everywhere.
As it pertains to Erica Sweet, did you attend a sworn statement at the state attorney's office with Erica Sweet?
Yes.
And during that sworn statement, did Erica Sweet identify Ronny Walker in the Thorntons video?
Yes.
Were you present during the interview of Natal Mirando?
Yes.
Okay. And during that particular interview, was it your understanding that he employed... What was the relationship with him and the defendant?
He was either the manager or the owner of the Giant Motor Cars dealership, and he employed Ronny Walker at that time.
Okay. And when you interviewed him in this case, was he shown a video from Thorntons?
Yes.
And did he identify Ronny Walker from that video?
He did.
Okay. And did he provide further information about this case as it pertains to Ronny Walker?
Yes, he did.
Do you recall what he said about the vehicle?
Objection to hearsay. And cross-examination at this point.
It's impeachment evidence based on Natal Miranda's testimony today, and I can recall her, or I can ask her now. She's still my witness. She's still on the stand, and I haven't rested.
Well, I would agree that it's beyond the scope.
Yeah.
Cross. Would you prefer as you recall her?
And on that issue, no. However, and I don't know if we need to approach on the impeachment issue. I think that this is improper.
Shout out to today's sponsors. While they on that quick break, before we wrap up the end of her testimony, we'll tap into a little bit more of what we left out the other day. Well, that we didn't have time for. Appreciate y'all being here. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, tap in, share with a friend. Appreciate you, family.
I've never seen anything spin the way this thing spins. All right, let's see.
Let it itself, and you don't have to worry about it.
Got a little hot mic for you. He said you don't gotta worry about it.
It looks so short, 47 seconds.
So this is the footage where he picked her up at. I don't think they got nobody on the stand though. I think they just tested her. There she go. That's her walking up.
Get it short. Okay. All right.
You want to look at it before I? Okay. Thank you. Publishing or, okay. I'm just gonna play. If you can look at it. Is this in its entirety video from your Ring camera?
Yes.
Okay, it's an accurate depiction of what you would have given the police.
Okay, hold on. Before she get into that, I got a question, family. Aren't these big blue lights, these big things up here in the back, ain't these supposed to be cameras? Why they don't have no camera from that angle? Isn't that supposed to be like 24-hour cameras? That would have been a much better view and a much better clarity. Just a question.
Is this in its entirety video from your Ring camera?
Yes.
Okay, it's an accurate depiction of what you would have given the police access to. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is your is it motion activated?
Yes.
Okay, that means okay. So if there was no further movement, we wouldn't see the car move or anything else. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state would move into evidence 3A1.
No objection.
And it'll be admitted as stage 3A1 without objection.
Thank you. State has no further questions.
Cross?
They already did cross,
No,
so
it's
it's
cross.
redirect.
Can you redirect?
No
Done?
further question.
So with that, next question on the list, Ms. Will this be released?
Yes.
Yes.
Member Friedman, thanks for
Thank
coming.
you.
State and call your next witness.
City Call Detective Aaron Cam.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to
They
give
just had her on there just for that ring. Well, I guess they have to get it in, so makes sense.
will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective, if you could please tell the jury your name.
Aaron Campbell.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm a sergeant with Tampa Police Department.
How long have you been working as a sergeant with the Tampa Police Department?
Well, I've been with Tampa Police Department since 2010. Was a detective for quite a while, corporal for a while, and now sergeant.
All right. And I've been calling you detective. I apologize.
No, no issues.
All right. And that's a promotion, I guess, from detective. Is that
It
right?
is.
All right. Now, sir, what back in 2022, what position did you hold at the Tampa Police Department?
Detective within the homicide unit at Tampa Police Department.
All right. And what are the general duties of a homicide detective?
To conduct death investigations and specifically homicide death investigations.
All right. Back in 2022, how long had you been working as a homicide detective?
Oh, I gotta think of what year I went over there. I think I went over there in 21 is I think when I went over there.
Okay. Prior to TPD, did you have other law enforcement experience?
Yeah, I started at Polk County Sheriff's Office in 1998. Left there in 2010 to come to Tampa PD and spent the majority of the time in homicide there.
All right. Now, were you involved in the investigation to the death of Nylexia Alexander?
I was.
When you all, as a homicide unit, are you detectives assigned specific jobs?
Yes, typically we are, yes.
Okay. And explain to the jury what some of those jobs are as, when a homicide investigation begins.
So typically when you go to a homicide scene, homicide unit, let's say us, for example, about a dozen detectives, and it goes through a rotation of who is lead, and it's just next up. Well, of course, you can't do everything by yourself, so we'll assign other detectives, And typically other roles, there's going to be a lead detective, a second to assist the lead. Somebody's going to be assigned to do the crime scene. If the crime scene is extremely large, then we may put a second detective with that as well. And then oftentimes we'll bring out other resources as needed for video collection or whatever might be needed at that time.
So as a whole, though, you all generally work together as a unit, but you do have certain people who lead specific parts of the investigation. Would that be all right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, on this particular investigation, were you assigned any particular duties?
Yes, I was assigned to scene that day.
The scene?
The scene, yes, sir.
Explain to the jury what the duties are of a crime scene detective.
So I'm going to get on scene. Of course, I'm going to meet with people, be briefed on what is known at that time. I'm going to be shown the scene. And then at my direction, I'm going to work with our crime scene analyst, and we're going to go through that scene, mark evidence, collect evidence, photograph evidence.
All right. Did you go out to the scene in this particular case?
I did.
Do you recall at what time you arrived to the scene?
Yeah, it was 5:35, I believe it was, in the morning.
And was it dark when you arrived?
It was.
All right. And this was in May of 2022, correct?
It was.
All right. If you can, kind of describe to the jury what you saw when you arrived, what you did when you arrived, kind of just go through the basics of that.
Yeah, so I arrived in the area of 109, 110 West Florabraska Avenue. It was an abandoned lot on the south side of the roadway. We had a female victim lying in that open lot area. So at that point, everything had already been secured by crime scene tape prior to my arrival, and it was going through and determining items of importance to just document and to ultimately collect.
All right. I'm going to show you what's already been introduced as State's Exhibit 36A. And take a look behind you. Do you recognize that location?
Yes, I do. That blue little marker up there, that would be the vacant lot I was just referring to.
All right. And the roadway there that's by that blue dot that says West Florabraska Avenue, is that basically the road that it was?
Yep, that is the road.
All right. And this occurred on, and so you went out there, and this is on Highland and Florabraska, right? Where it intersects.
Yeah, the closest intersection or corner, there's Highlands and Florabraska.
And so State's Exhibit number A1, that's kind of the marker of where you all work, correct?
That is.
All right. Now, when you are setting up a crime scene, what are your duties? What kind of things are you going to do once you've made your initial view of the crime scene and looked at it? What do you start doing?
Well, I'm going to do an initial walk through the crime scene, kind of get a lay of the land, so to say, and then we're going to start marking specific items of evidence with evidence markers, mostly for organization purposes.
All right, and you said you lay out markers, correct?
We do.
Do you also do kind of a crime scene diagram from time to time?
I do.
And when you do a crime scene diagram, do you have a specific location from which you make your measurements?
You try to pick a fixed marker that is not going to leave and be gone in a month or 2 months or maybe even a year. So for this particular one, I picked a telephone pole to measure everything from.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit A2. Is that in fact the telephone pole you use in order to make your measurements?
That is.
All right. Now, when you're out there, you work with, I believe you might have said this already, you work with other crime scene investigators? And
yes.
Do you kind of direct them as to what you want collected, what you want photographed? Is that how it works?
That's correct.
All right. Prior to evidence markers being placed down, do you all photograph the scene as it looks before anything is marked as evidence?
We do. They do overalls.
Okay. So I'm going to show you A3. Is this one of those overalls that you did?
It is.
And what are you documenting here with this photograph?
The scene as it was found.
All right. So this is prior to any markers being placed down, prior to you all actually kind of going around and really inspecting it. This is just kind of what it looks like when you arrive. Okay. And then A4. This is kind of the same thing, just from a different angle.
Yep.
All right. Now, after you have done the photographs of the overall, and obviously in this particular case, you know, do you also photograph the objects and stuff prior to putting markers down as well? Usually,
we do.
Okay. Now, once you start laying the markers down, do you then do photographs with the evidence markers also in place?
We do.
So I'm showing you what's marked and been introduced as State's Exhibit A5. Are these in fact some of an example of the markers being placed down that indicate pieces of evidence that you believe may or may not be relevant, but you mark them anyhow? Is that right?
That's correct.
So, and let me go back to that and ask you that. So when you mark these things, what information do you have about the case?
Depending on the information gathered in the beginning, it can be very little to a lot. At this point, we knew we had a dead female laying there. It appears to be a homicide, but that's all the information that we had at the time.
All right. And so do you know, like, everything there, what it will be or may not be relevant down the road?
No idea.
Okay, but do you mark things just kind of as a precaution and take them into evidence?
That's correct.
Okay. And what's already been introduced as States A6, again, just another angle showing, again, more markers now in place around the victim's body. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Now, Detective, I'm going to approach real quick and show you what is marked as States A9 through A57, and after you ask if you can just take a quick look through those and see if you recognize those.
I have no objection to these being introduced.
All right, so be admitted without objection.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
A9 through A7.
Yes. And just kind of quickly, just make sure you do recognize all of them before I start asking you questions about them all.
Yeah, they all appear to be all the photos that we had taken out there that day, documenting the evidence.
Okay. With the crime scene investigator to determine what it is that you want pictures taken of.
We do.
Okay. All right, so let me go now to State's Exhibit number A10 and ask you, what are we looking at in this picture?
A10, we're looking at.
Say what I pretend,
let me
girl,
look
Stacy
at my
with 30,
sheet here,
30
because sometimes
into,
things show
yeah,
more
this time say
than
what I
one,
pretend.
one thing on there. So this is A10 on the evidence list, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, so A10 is going to be a shell casing.
Because there's a shell casing in there?
Well, you said A10. I'm looking on my sheet.
Man, they showing pictures. Do I gotta get my trigger warning ready? Y'all remember yesterday they showed her whole face on that thing. I had to cover her face up.
Says shell.
Oh, you know what? This is not. I'm sorry, not your A10. This is
Okay.
the court's or State's Exhibit
Okay,
A10. So it's a different thing.
we probably have a different number then. I know what my A10 is.
Well, how about I pass this, and I know where we can go to where you will understand what it is. Let's look at A11. These are markings for the court.
Yes, A11 is suspected blood droppings.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. So this is what you believed, and this is still on the road. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and for instance, when we look at States A12, that kind of gives you a more clear picture that it is in fact on the road. Correct?
Yes, it does.
All right, and so you all saw that evening or that morning when you were out there and laid that marker down to take a picture and document that.
We
Is that
did.
Right? All right. Then States A13, just kind of another angle of that.
Yep.
It shows the relative distance between markers 1, 2, and 3, correct?
It does.
All right. Then A14, what are we looking at here?
You're looking at two things there. You're looking at suspected blood on 2, and on number 3, we're looking at a shell casing.
Okay. So here there's 2 specific items that you are marking so that it can be clear. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. And so in A15, This is a more close-up view of of marker 2, is that right?
Yes, so blood spatter on a leaf.
Okay, in A16, would that be even a more close-up view of that?
Yep, same picture, yes, so closer up view.
All right. You said 3 was a casing, correct?
Shell casing.
So if we look at State's Exhibit A15, I'll zoom in a little bit here so it's more clearly visible.
Yes.
Is that in fact the shell casing you all found out there that night?
It is.
All right. Now, when you find a piece of evidence like this, do you take that into evidence? Like, do you take it into custody, basically?
We do.
All right. How do you all do that?
The crime scene will collect that piece of evidence, place it in an envelope. It'll go back to the office, get entered into evidence. It can also undergo testing in-house for NIBIN and other types of things, and eventually goes off to generally Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
Okay, Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Mm-hmm. So you'll send them out there maybe to make like...
I don't know, FFS. Cha diggy, cha diggy, cha diggy. That's 3 times. Let's see if she appeared.
Comparisons, things like that?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit A17, and what are we looking at in this particular picture?
Well, you're looking at a couple things here. Most notably is going to be that tropical fantasy pineapple bottle here, and a cell phone charging cord or USB charging cord.
All right. And an A18?
More of a close-up of the LG cell phone charging cord.
All right. And again, all of this stuff was just how you found it when you arrived on the scene?
Exactly as it was, yes, sir.
All right. Now, this charging cord, did you mark it?
The hell? Did she really just pop up in the chat immediately? What up, Chop? Appreciate you joining.
And take that into evidence as well?
We did.
All right, and does State's Exhibit A19 show what marker number that was?
Yep,
that was?
number 6.
All right. And the bottle, did you mark and take that into evidence as well?
Yep, we did. We listed it as number 5.
All right. And A20, is that kind of an indication of how you all marked it?
It is.
Now, at a certain point, when the medical examiner arrives, do you all move the body to ascertain whether or not there may be evidence underneath the victim's body?
We do.
Now, you all wait until the medical examiner arrives to touch the body. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, when the medical examiner is going to respond, and they were in this case, then we do wait.
Okay. And I'm showing you State's Exhibit A21. Was this the location where the body had been before it was moved?
It is.
And does that kind of document that there was nothing of evidentiary value that was located underneath her head, correct?
That's correct.
Right. Now, when you were looking at the victim's body, did you all discover that there was some piece of evidence that may have been located on her body, actually?
Yeah, we did. I think you're referring to a shell casing that was kind of on her side and near a pocket.
Okay, so I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit A22. Do we see what you were referring to in this picture?
Yeah, we do. You can see it right here in the corner. It's a shiny object that's kind of in the corner of her pocket, and it's a shell casing.
And tell the jury, for those jurors who may not know what a shell casing is, what is a shell casing, basically?
So, you have a bullet, which would go inside of a gun, and the shell casing contains a primer as well as gunpowder. Then fitted inside of that shell casing is a projectile, which is what's referred to as a bullet. So when the gun fires, the casing can do one of two things. If it's a revolver, it can remain in the gun. If it's a semi-automatic pistol, it would be ejected from the gun, and then the projectile would leave the barrel towards wherever it had been pointed at that time. But what we often find at crime scenes are the shell casings of the expended round once the bullet has been fired.
Okay, so this is not uncommon to find shell casings in an area where a gun had been fired?
No, not at all.
All right.
That was a dumbass
And
question.
A23, is that just more of a close-up picture of that shell casing that you all were attempting?
It is.
All right. And then that is marked as well, correct? So that you all have it for, so you can know exactly on a diagram where it is?
That's correct.
And so what number was this one marked as?
I believe that was number 8.
So A24, would that be?
Yep, that's it right there.
Photograph of number 8 with the projectile. Then A25.
Just a close-up of the shell casing.
Okay. A26, marker number 7. What are we looking at in marker number 7?
Number 7 is what appears to be tire impressions, possibly left by a bicycle.
All right. Now, at that point in time, when you marked that and took that, did you know how the victim had arrived on scene?
We had no idea.
So, in your mind, that could have become relevant if the victim had maybe ridden there on a bike, or and then someone had come and found her.
That's what I was gonna say, cause old boy did say he rode in on a bike, or did he say he be right bike?
On a bike.
Absolutely, it was there. It was in the area, and we documented it.
So that's kind of an example of how sometimes you'll document things that may not have any relevance down the road, but at least you make sure that you have it documented at the time.
That's correct.
Okay. When you all were out there at the scene, did you attempt to identify who the victim was at the time?
I believe they did try to do rapid ID at the scene. I don't remember what the results were of it.
All right. Do you also look for sometimes markings on the victim's body or whatever that could help lead to identification?
Sure, tattoos, marks, things like that.
All right. I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit A27. Why? What is the purpose of this picture?
Just to document the tattoo of Arthur on
and that was.
So this is the crazy part right here. This is one I've been wanting to know. So I'm looking forward to hearing his answer. Sorry for cutting it off, but I appreciate y'all being here. How did they find her from this tattoo? Because what system do they have this in? Like, it shouldn't be documented. She only 14. Obviously, it was done on the street. How do they have this in their system? But this is a question I've been wanting to know. So hopefully we about to find out.
It's on her arm?
Yep.
All right. Now, while you were out at the scene, you had just described that it was dark. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. So at that time, while it was dark, was that basically all the evidence that you had located?
It was.
Okay. Did you feel like at that point in time there was nothing else to see there, and you all wrapped up the crime scene and the body was taken?
That's correct.
Now, where is the body taken at that point?
To the medical examiner's office.
Is that where they conduct an autopsy?
It is.
Do detectives sometimes attend those autopsies?
We do.
Did you attend this autopsy?
I did.
And so you left the crime scene, and did you go straight to the autopsy?
I did.
Okay. Were the victim's clothing taken at the autopsy?
Yes, they were.
And were they photographed?
They were.
And were you present when they were photographed?
I was.
All right. Showing you A53. What are we looking at here?
Yep, that's okay. The clothing items that she was wearing at the scene.
All right. And then A54.
Same thing, close up of the top.
Then A55.
Close up of the shirt.
All right, A56. Are you trying to identify or show something in this particular picture?
I think it's just a close up showing possible blood spatter and those types of things right there.
All right. Were any in showing you A57?
Yeah, you can see what appears to be a possible bullet hole entrance or some kind of deformation in the shirt.
Okay, so that's what you're trying to annotate in that picture, is that a potential bullet hole entrance in the shirt. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Now, after you were done conducting, or after you were done attending the autopsy, what did you do at that point?
I actually drove back out to the crime scene.
Okay. Now, before I get to that, I remember another question I was going to ask you. When you found the charger, did you all ever find a phone?
No, we never found a cell phone.
Okay, not on the victim's person or anywhere around the victim?
Not at the scene, not at the autopsy. We never found a cell phone.
All right. Now, you indicated you went back out to the crime scene. Is that normal?
At times it is. We're out there, it's dark. These shell casings and small things are incredibly hard to see, especially with these flashlights we're using today. They are bright, almost beyond measure, and it's this bluish hue, and sometimes with the aid of natural light, you can see things that you just weren't able to see before.
All right. So you went back out there, I guess, when it was light so that you could see a little bit better?
I did.
And did you go walk around the scene?
I did.
Did you have a crime scene investigator with you also?
Not initially. I did make discoveries and then called crime scene out.
Okay, so when you went...
And they found 2 more casings.
Back out, you did see some things that you had not seen before, is that right?
I did.
All right. Showing you A28. I know it's hard to see, like you were describing how it can be hard to see. Did you notice anything there that you saw?
Yeah, it's a shell casing.
And if you could maybe stand up and kind of show.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
I was about to say, where? I don't see no shell
Kind of
cases.
indicate, so it's like
Right
kind of,
in this area right
Oh, okay.
it's
I
almost
see
right
it,
in
I
the
see
center
it,
of
I
that
see it.
screen.
It is.
All right. Then A29.
Yep. Right in this area right here's another shell casing.
Okay. And did you now, when you've discovered this other shell casing, did you contact crime scene to come back out?
I did.
And did you mark and document this evidence as well?
We did.
All right. Showing you A30. Was that the number you marked that particular shell casing
It
with?
is.
And what number is that?
Number 9.
Did you locate another shell casing while you were out there?
I did.
I'm showing you A32. Does that appear to be the other shell casing you noticed?
Yes, it is. It's right here in the leaf litter.
Again, right in the center pretty much of the screen, correct?
It is.
And was that shell casing marked as well?
Yeah, number 10.
So I'm showing you State's Exhibit A33. That shows the marker of number 10?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So it was just 2.
In A34, what are we looking at there?
Just shows where the 2 shell casings were located.
Cause remember the guy that was in the car said it was only 3 shots. He said 1 inside the car and 2 outside the car.
Nearly together.
Okay. So it kind of gives you sort of a distance, and it was off the road, is correct?
It was.
All right. Did you find anything else in your search out there when you came back in the day?
Yeah, I did. I located 2 projectiles.
Okay. Now A35, I'm pretty certain that from this picture we're not going to really see those projectiles.
I don't think so, no, sir.
Okay, but this is kind of what the lot looked like when you went out there that afternoon?
Yep, very much so.
And A36.
Yeah, it's still not easy to see, but that's a projectile right here, kind of into dirt. It's kind of half covered with dirt itself.
Okay. So that's, again, a projectile is the bullet that's actually fired.
That is.
So that
correct.
bullet had been fired out of that firearm, or out of a firearm.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. In A37, is that just more a close-up of that bullet?
Yes, it is.
Were those projectiles, were they marked as well?
They were. It was marked number 10 and number 11.
Or number 10, wasn't 10 a casing?
Excuse me, 11 and 12.
Okay. And so A38 shows marker of 11?
Yes.
many bullets was it? I done lost count.
And you found, did you find anything else?
One additional projectile.
All right. Showing you State's Exhibit A48.
Welcome to Flesh.
Here underneath this little bit of grass.
All right. And A49. So just a more close-up view of that?
Yep, the same.
And again, is that marked for later identification
It
purposes?
is. It's marked with number 12.
All right, and so.
So it is more than 3, but I guess some could be the actual projectile. Some of them is the casing. Okay, so that makes sense of why it's more than just, okay.
It's Exhibit A50. Is that the projectile with the marker?
Yes, yes, sir, it is.
Now these items, they are, in fact, that you find out there, taken into, or diagrammed first. Let me get into the diagram first. You all diagrammed it, is
Sure,
that right?
yes, I diagrammed it.
Okay, and when you had mentioned earlier that you use the telephone pole, that gives you the distance, so there's a central spot where you can say where everything is from?
That's correct.
I'm showing you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 2 for identification. Do you recognize that?
I do. It's the diagram of the scene along with the markers and the distances from that pole to each one of the items.
All right. Does that fairly and accurately depict the crime scene diagram you put together for this case?
It does.
All right, Judge, at this time move to have State's Exhibit number 2 admitted into evidence.
Objection. All right, it'll be admitted in States 2 without objection.
All right, so just to be clear on this, where this says 100 block of West Flora, Nebraska, and there's a gray kind of line like that, what is that supposed to indicate?
The just the roadway.
All right, so that's kind of the pavement or the street type area?
It is.
All right. Now, if you could, so all those markers that we've seen in those previous pictures that are numbered, is that what we are seeing here on this diagram?
Yes, you are.
And so it gives sort of a general location. So, for instance, 1, which is suspected blood, you have it marked right there, kind of almost on the road.
I do.
Okay. Now 3. So at the morning scene when you were out there, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
That's
7
correct.
are those tire tracks, correct?
That's correct.
All right. What is 4 in this particular diagram?
That would be the body.
Okay. And 3, what is 3?
3 is a shell casing.
A shell casing. 8?
8 is, I believe, also a shell casing. Let me get my legend out, please.
Sure.
8 is a shell casing.
And that in fact was a shell casing that was found on.
That was kind of the one. It was kind of in the corner of her pocket.
All right. And then 5 would represent is that the bottle?
That is the tropical fantasy pineapple bottle.
And 6 would be that charger?
Yes, it is.
And then later on, when you came back out later, that is when you discovered 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right.
Dang. It's crazy. 14 years old, man. For what? Why they do that little girl like that? That don't make no sense.
So these items that we've diagrammed, that you have demonstrated through the diagrams and through the pictures, those items, some of those items were in fact taken into evidence, correct?
That's correct.
All right. I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 22 for identification.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's gloves. Yeah, right there. Can you take a look at that?
Well,
They both need to be locked up for being there and letting each other do that, for allowing that to happen. You need to be locked up.
bear with me, these are not even close to the right size.
50 years old. Y'all know dang on well that girl was a teenager.
You might be using these as mittens. Oh, yeah, please, thank you.
So we moved up State's Exhibit 20. Allowed now. Just look and
So, but it,
You would fight
two
listen. Horse being Now the markings on the projectile itself, you did not do those markings?
No, sir.
Okay.
At least they used gloves. Remember on the rally trial, they didn't even use no gloves because they knew it was fake.
Do you know who or how it was done, or it could have been?
I do not.
Okay. Were these items sent to be tested?
Yeah, they were sent to Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
And the other shell casing? And these are both of the same caliber, is that correct?
That's correct.
This one says number 3.
Sweetie! Sweetie! You soft.
Now going back to 32A, are these in fact the other shell casings that were collected on that day?
Yes, they are the ones from collected from that day.
Those are the ones you came out to later on when
Yeah.
the sun was out that you were able to find them.
That's correct. It's even noted on there, located east of the pole.
All right, and are they devastating?
Correct.
Further testing?
They were.
Okay. And as a crime scene detective, are you also sometimes involved in what evidence gets sent out to FDLE for testing?
I am.
Okay. And finally, I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 33. You take a look at that. And essentially the same condition as when you collected them on that. Page 33 will be the
That's a projectile. Damn. That little bitty thing, take your life so easy. That's crazy.
showing you what's marked as State's Exhibit A51.
Yes.
Do you recognize what that is?
Yep, it's a house right at the end of the street on Highlands.
Okay. And would State's A52 be kind of looking from that house down Florida?
That's correct.
All right. So you would be standing basically here, you would be standing kind of somewhere over here. Would that be accurate?
That's correct.
Where my finger's pointing here, which would be kind of towards the very side of the house?
That's correct.
And that's the view from that side of the house looking towards Florida and the road?
That's correct.
And all of these cars that are pictured in State's Exhibit A52, those would obviously all be there for the crime scene, correct?
They all look like police cars.
Okay. They aren't normally there, in other words.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, I guess we pretty much get the point with that. I wasn't expecting them to go that long. Let's finish up, what's her name? Sack Rider. Finish up with Sack Rider, and then we'll see where we're going from there. Appreciate y'all being here, family. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, tap in, share with a friend.
on that interview, Mr. So you did in fact interview Mr. Natal Miranda, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it was it based on that interview that you and other members of Tampa Police Department then took possession of the vacuum cleaner and all these other items? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. At any point during your interview with Robert Creed, did you or Detective Whelan tell Robert Creed to lie?
No.
Now, the defense has talked to you earlier about the fact that I think they said that Ronny.
So for everybody who don't know, that's him right there, Ronnie Walker.
Walker was cooperative. Is that what you remember?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember, in the time that you came in contact with Erica Sweet, what is the name that you associated with Erica Sweet? Is it Erica Sweet?
I believe Erica Corvette Sweet.
Sweet, okay. Did Mr. Walker tell you that his girlfriend's name was Erica Hudson?
Yes.
Okay. And then when you spoke to Mr. Walker specifically about the name of the person that got out of the front passenger seat of his Ford on May the 6th of 2022 around 3 p.m. 3:20, who did he say was that individual?
I believe it was a coworker.
All right, so this is the part where I was talking about where the sound went out. But watch her body language. It's like she knew it happened or something. Like, watch how she started looking at the camera and kind of making these faces. Look. How does she? I don't know. It could just be a coincidence, but she haven't really looked at the camera the whole time. But now, as soon as the sound go out, all of a sudden, she like looking.
To see. Do you have access
I don't
to
know.
your
Maybe it's just me overthinking.
I do not.
Okay.
Maybe it's just her natural faces. I don't know. But it looks suspect.
I'm going to use the report. Or any portions of the report that might help the person to access to the report. She's going to be able to go through the report to see it. Yeah, you can search it. Yeah. Your Honor, Mr. Witness?
Yes, ma'am.
Him on May the 6th of 2022 around 3:20 or so p.m.
Yes.
And who did Mr. Walker tell you he was in the vehicle with?
At that point, he said Day Day.
And did you and Detective Whelan determine who Day Day is?
Yes.
Could have been a response to what they were saying to her. But then why would it happen to cut at that point? I don't know.
And who is that?
David Wayne.
And ultimately, have you since spoken to Robert Creed in association with this case?
Yes.
And who, in fact, was in the vehicle with Ronnie Walker on May the 6th around 3 p.m.?
That was Robert Creed.
And does Robert Creed, did he tell you that?
Yes.
Okay. And also, was there independent information based on the video footage from Tampa General Hospital and Ford's?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I have a moment?
Yes,
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Just that last part was outside the scope. Can I have brief questions?
Girl who was arrested.
Sorry about that, Detective. Ms. Bossett was asking you about the conversation you had with Mr. Walker. No one showed him any photographs or videos from the Tampa General Hospital, correct?
Correct.
And when you're speaking with Mr. Walker, this is about, what, 10 days or so after the shooting, correct?
That is correct.
And so when you all are asking him about going to Tampa General Hospital to pick up his girlfriend, you're not showing him any videos or photographs, you're just asking who would have been in the car with you?
Yes.
Okay, nothing further, thank you.
Excuse.
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor. Thank you.
I have this paperwork. I'll come back, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please tell me recess for the day. Remember the court's instructions. We will see you all tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Last week had already admitted to killing someone years ago. So what was Ronny Walker doing out on the streets, and how was he able to kill Alexia Alexander just 6 months later? Fox 13's Evan Axelbank has been looking into this. He joins us now live from the Hillsborough County Courthouse with this story. Evan?
Well, he had once been ordered to spend the rest of his life behind bars, but that conviction was overturned, and a plea deal allowed him to get out of jail after just 5 years.
Veronica Denson knows from experience the pain 44-year-old Ronny Walker is capable of inflicting.
This is an animal. They just need to just keep him locked up.
These are scenes of her nightmare's aftermath. In 2003, Veronica was home with her grandmother, Elaine Caldwell, when Walker broke in, demanded money from Elaine's boyfriend, and killed her in front of them. Detectives were turned on to Walker by the boyfriend, who said he'd heard via rumor who the killer was. It took 2 jury trials for him to be found guilty of manslaughter and armed robbery. Walker got life in prison, but his attorneys won an appeal, with a judge citing an inappropriate use of hearsay evidence.
You have a right as a criminal defendant to confront your accuser, to test the evidence against you. And we don't know who these people on the street, if they even really exist.
Faced with the prospect of a 3rd trial, he signed this plea deal in 2012, admitting to manslaughter and agreeing to serve 8 years. Thanks to time already served, he was out in 2016. In 2017, he got 4 years for violating probation. He got out in November of 2021. 6 months later, prosecutors say he killed Alexia Alexander in a hail of gunfire on Florida-Braska Avenue.
Prosecution is complicated, and back in 2010, I have confidence that the state attorney's office did everything they could to convict him of the charge against him.
Part of the reason his conviction in Caldwell's death was overturned was because the evidence against Walker was tenuous, because there was no physical evidence connecting him with the crimes, and his identification was significantly impeached. Furthermore, some of the evidence was actually inconsistent. In the death of Alexia, the motion to hold him until trial argues they've tied his car movements and DNA to the time and place of where she was shot, and that she was seen on video getting into his car minutes before.
The system didn't really fail. It's a fact of, that's just, unfortunately, it's a very tragic circumstance. We can't incarcerate people for the rest of their lives based upon charges that don't require that.
Our legal analyst does say that with his long criminal history that goes back as long as 25 years, that it could be an aggravating factor if he is convicted and then sentenced for this killing, Allie.
I'm sure that.
Yeah. So he is already being convicted for murder. And then went through 2 trials and then got out on appeal. So I don't know. He looking real guilty right now. I ain't gonna lie. He looking real guilty if you ask me. So we almost up out of here. I got a little bit more I'm gonna show y'all, and then we gonna roll out. Appreciate y'all being here, family. This the last little parts that we left out, and then I think we all caught up. So if you need to see everything that didn't happen, I got everything in my last 3 or 4 videos. They all got the same type of title. Just go to my channel and go to the live section and check out the last 3, 4 lives. We covered it all. Joni Ford, what up, though? That's a fact. Such a shame. We almost up out of here, though. Appreciate y'all, family.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Can you please say your full name for the record?
Natal Paul Mirando Jr.
Okay. And sir, are you currently employed?
I am.
Where do you work?
Brandon Mitsubishi,
Okay. And what is your job title?
General Sales Manager.
Okay. And sir, back in 2022, did you work somewhere else?
I did.
Where did you work?
Giant Motor Cars
Okay. And where is that located?
on MLK.
In Hillsborough County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in May or so of 2022, did you know a person named Ronny Walker?
I did.
How did you know him?
Ronnie worked for me for quite some time.
When you say quite some time, are we talking months, days?
Yeah, 6, 7 months maybe.
6,
8
7 months?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you see Ronny Walker in court today?
I do.
Can you please identify him by an article of clothing?
Wearing a suit and a tie right there.
Okay. Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant?
It will reflect identification.
Back in 2022, did you know Ronny Walker to wear glasses?
Hey, and seeing him point out old dude, that just remind me. Hey, I want to apologize to old dude that pointed him out yesterday. I didn't know he had a heart attack and was going through them things before I did that. I just realized that. I want to apologize to old boy, man. That was my bad. I didn't mean to laugh at you like that.
That I don't recall.
Okay. When he worked for you, what was his job requirements?
He did a little bit of everything. He was a lot guy, clean cars, did
A
whatever
lot-
we asked for him to do.
Okay.
He was a lot guy, lot porter. He did stuff personally. Whatever we needed him to do, Ronnie did.
Okay. So at the time in 2022, did Mr. Ronny Walker own a Ford?
I believe so.
I beg your pardon?
I believe so.
And did he get this Ford from Giant Motors? Do you recall?
I believe so. I can't recall.
Okay. All right. State Exhibit C1. Could this help refresh your memory?
Yeah, I recognize the car and my sticker.
Okay. And do you recall that being Ronny Walker's car?
Yeah.
Okay. Did it come a time that law enforcement showed up at Giant Motors?
They did.
Okay. And did they talk to you about this vehicle?
They did.
And was the vehicle present when they came in contact with you or when they went to Giant Motors on May the 13th? Do you recall?
I don't know if the car was present at that time.
Okay.
But
You don't remember?
No, I don't
Okay.
remember.
Was Ronny Walker there? Do you remember?
I don't remember the date. I mean, there was a time that they came and Ronnie Walker was there and I was there, yes.
Okay. And on that day, was the car there, this car that I've just shown you?
I think so.
Okay. Shortly before the police arrived, around May the 11th of 2022, did anything out of the ordinary, as you think back, happen as it pertains to Ronny Walker and that vehicle?
Were we speaking about when Ronnie came back and asked for his job back?
Well, was there a time he asked for his job back?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it a time that he quit his job?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what that time frame is in relationship to when you came in contact with the police?
A few weeks, probably.
Okay. A few weeks before.
Maybe a week before, a week and a half before, 2 weeks, he come back to work.
Okay. All right. Now, at some point, around May the 11th of 2022, did you note that Ronny Walker was doing anything in particular with his vehicle?
Cleaning his car? Is that
Yes.
what you're asking me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you speak to the police about that when they interviewed you concerning this case?
Yeah, they asked me if he, they asked me about the car and, if he regularly cleaned his car. Asked me several questions
Well,
like that.
give me a second here. During that conversation, did you tell the police anything that was out of the ordinary in the time frame that Mr. Ronny
Yes.
Walker used as he cleaned his car?
He cleaned his car.
Okay. What was it that was significant enough that you told law enforcement about, if you recall?
Objection to hearsay.
Do you want me to rephrase or?
Yeah, just rephrase that question.
Did you talk to the police about Ronny Walker's behavior on May the 11th of 2022?
On that particular day or the day that they asked me? Are you speaking of the day he cleaned his car or the day he
I'm
asked me
asking
if he
you
cleaned
about
his
the
car?
day he cleaned his car. Was there anything unique or out of the ordinary that you ultimately relayed to the police about the length of time that
Yes, he took a while to clean his car.
Okay. Did he move the location of that vehicle? Did he park his car differently at some point?
Like I told him before, when they asked me that question, there were times that he parked inside the lot, and I asked him to park outside the lot. So it wasn't irregular, but yes, he did park the car inside the lot.
Okay. And for that time frame, was that out of the ordinary?
I can't say if it was out of the ordinary. You know, I mean, he parked his car. Sometimes there was, I don't remember if there was a bunch of cars outside to where he couldn't park outside. You know, because there was times that happened to me. Or if that car, he parked it inside that time specifically.
Did you speak to the police around July the 13th of 2022 about this case?
I did.
Were you under oath?
They didn't tell me I was under oath, but they, you know, I can't recall exactly what was said at that day, but yeah, I mean, they come in and ask me the questions about the case.
Was it a recorded?
No.
It wasn't? Have you had an opportunity to listen to it at all?
No.
In trial prep? Okay, so it wasn't recorded. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Okay.
That I don't believe so. I mean, they asked me if I wanted to listen to it.
Okay.
And I didn't think I needed to because I recalled pretty well what I told the police at the time.
And at any point, did you say to law enforcement that you didn't realize, you know, that it was unusual the way Mr. Walker, you know, parked his car until after the fact, until later? Did you?
To hearsay and improper impeachment, if that's what's attempting to happen.
Sustained.
Okay. Did Mr. Walker at some point begin or park his car in the northeast corner away from the entrance of the roadway?
A few times, but I can't recall the exact dates or when that started.
Okay.
Like I said, there were times prior that he parked the car inside, and I had asked him to park outside next to my car. But there were times that place was full. So I don't know if that specifically was, but there was times, yes, I seen him and I asked him to move his car outside, and he had parked the car inside the building, inside the gate.
Okay. Shortly before the police showed up at Giant Lots, and shortly before you came in contact with them on May the 13th, did you see Ronnie Walker cleaning out his car?
Yeah, I was made aware that he was cleaning his car. Yes. And then I looked and seen him clean his car.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I seen him clean his car.
Okay. And about how long did he spend cleaning his car?
You know, I can't say for sure, but you know, it was more than an hour.
Okay.
You know.
At any point, did you indicate previously that it had been hours?
Possibly.
Did you
But I
consider?
didn't know the exact time.
Did you consider it to be at a particularly lengthy amount of time that he spent cleaning out that car?
It could be, but then sometime you detail a car and it could take 3 or 4 hours. So.
Okay. So
yeah,
was it
it
your?
was lengthy time.
Okay. So is it your testimony that he was detailing the car or cleaning it out?
What's at that time, at the time that I'm noticing him do it, there was no difference to me.
Okay. Did you bring that up to the attention of law enforcement? Did you give an interview regarding
So-
this?
They asked me about it the first time they asked about it because obviously my mechanic.
All I'm asking you is this.
Yes, of course
Did you
I did.
talk
You
to
know
the
I did.
police about the vehicle in
Yes.
question? Okay. Did you tell the police that you thought that Ronnie Walker cleaned out his car for a lengthy amount of time?
Yes.
Okay. Did you give law enforcement permission to even take the vacuum cleaners and such and take them for further testing?
Of course.
And it was based on information that you provided to law enforcement that they took those vacuum cleaners and such, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I am showing you what is in evidence of State Exhibit E1. Do you recognize the person depicted in this photograph?
Yes.
Who is that?
Well, there's other pictures too, because this particular picture, you know, I'm not sure, but it looks like Ronnie.
Okay. State Exhibit E3.
Yes.
Who is this?
Looks like Ronnie.
Okay. Have you seen Mr. Walker wear the same clothes or jewelry previously?
This time, say what I pretend there, Stacy with 30.
At the time, I believe so. You know, obviously a couple of years, 3 years later, you know.
About a week ago or so, did you indicate that you had seen
I
Ronnie
recognize
Walker?
the shoes.
Okay. So
Walker.
Okay. Your Honor, may I have a moment?
All right, I mean, he almost about it here. Another pointless thing, just to say he worked there and he washed his car.
Cross-examination.
Thank you.
That was kind of pointless.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, when Ronnie Walker came back to work for you, that was actually early May 2nd, 2022. Does that sound right?
Around about that time.
Okay. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you told Ms. Fawcett initially on direct examination is that it was on May 11th that you observed Mr. Walker cleaning or detailing, whichever word you want to use, his vehicle, the black Ford, correct?
I told everybody I don't know the exact date.
Okay. All right. So the May 11th, you're
Whatever the day he came back, I thought was the day that he cleaned his car. Whether it's May 2nd or May 11th, you're asking me something that happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Okay, all right, so we won't use specific date, we'll use time period then. So the day that Ronnie Walker comes back to work for you, that's when you observe him cleaning his vehicle?
Right.
Okay, all right. And is that an unusual activity for someone who's working for Ford Motor Group?
Giant Motor Cars?
Giant Motor Cars?
No, there were times that I'd let employees clean their own car.
Okay. Can I have a moment, please, Your Honor?
Yes.
The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
What? All right, and when you hired Mr. Walker to work for you in May, that was done, he was to do a number of activities on the property, correct?
Correct.
And one of those activities is to wash or detail cars, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and it is not unusual to take sometimes hours to wash or detail a vehicle, correct?
Correct.
That's a common occurrence if you're doing that kind of thing.
It is.
Okay. Nothing else. Thank you, sir.
Redirect.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Can this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please go ahead.
Thank you.
Statement calling next witness.
Your Honor, this time to say what quote James.
The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
What?
All right. One more witness, and we up out of here. Appreciate y'all. Shout out to Joni Ford. Y'all dropped some coins in the chat. Shout out to all of today's stream sponsors. Appreciate y'all, family. Much love, much love. Go crazy with the coins. You got your emoji coming soon, Joni Ford. I got you. I'm gonna be working on it. I'm gonna figure something out for you. You say you like blue. Blue what? Blue what? Tell me blue what? But we up out of here. Appreciate y'all. We got one more coming to the stand.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
My name is James Kwong. James spells J-A.
It sounds like she fell a little bit, huh? She tripped over a cord.
My name.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
My name is James Kwong. James spells J-A-M-E-S. Kwong spells K-W-O-N-G.
Okay. And sir, are you currently employed?
No, I'm not. I am a retired forensic analyst specialized in guns, ammunitions, ballistics, and the forensic disciplines of firearms identification.
Okay. But sir, prior to your retirement, did you work for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Yes, I did.
How long?
Stacy Sibbett, I knew you was in the bushes, huh? That's
Say
your
like
type
the
of
10
person
Stacey
right
with
here.
30 and
It's your type of person right here, facts.
How long did you work for that establishment?
Approximately 19 and a half years.
What did your job entail specifically?
My responsibilities and duties are conduct examinations of firearms, ammunitions, components of ammunitions such as projectiles, spent casings. Conduct examination of firearms, function check, safety check, and test fire the firearms. Conduct microscopic comparisons of projectiles to projectiles, cartridge cases to cartridge cases, to determine whether they were fired in or fired from the same gun or not, and many other related duties.
Okay. So what is your educational background?
I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering and Technology.
All right. Enough of all the accolades. Let's
And
get to the business.
primary achievement by course.
This area of special.
I was previously of Philadelphia. Duty.
We know you're the greatest. You do everything.
Also based on gunshot resin. Completed my 3 years training. Or hired by FDLE.
Analyze or do any testing on casings?
Yes.
And can you tell us what that is?
The modern ammunition is what we call a cartridge. A cartridge contains 4 major components. The first component is the cartridge case, some people call it brass. At the base of the cartridge case, there is a primer. Inside the cartridge case is gunpowder. And the last component is the bullet or the projectile that is seated inside the case mouth. And that is a cartridge case. Correction, that is a single unit of ammunition, a cartridge. A cartridge case is just one of the 4 major components.
Are you ever asked to examine cartridge casings?
Yes, that is most of my duties.
And for what purpose?
Well, first we have to determine the caliber of the cartridge case, as well as class characteristics that it was fired from a particular gun. If more than one cartridge case is submitted, I have to compare the 2 cartridge case against each other to determine whether they were firing the same gun or not.
And can that be done? How would you go about doing that?
Yes. The scientific instrument that we use is called a comparison microscope. Basically, it's 2 microscopes combined into one with 2 separate stages, and each stage holds 1 component or 1 item. It could be projectiles or could be cartridge cases. We compare them side by side, and we are looking for agreements or disagreements of individual characteristics. These are the markings that left on the cartridge case when it was fired from the gun. If the pattern match, that means they were fired from the same gun. If the pattern did not match, that means they were fired from different gun.
Okay. And how about bullets or projectiles? Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, again, the bullet or projectile is one of the four major components of a cartridge. The bullet is the component that, once fired, it travels down the barrel and out the barrel. First, we determine the.
Hold on, is he just here to just tell you what a gun is? Is this just a firearms expert like on the YSL case? Hold up. I thought he saw us, or he did something.
Caliper of the bullet. Then we determine, submit it. They will
obtain a projectile and it be of no value for comparison because of the condition that the projectile is in.
Yeah, sometimes
Bad condition, but still can be compared against other evidence.
yes, I have compared little bullet jackets to another bullets.
What are that are submitted to you for further testing?
Yes, if the bullet jacket fragment, even if it's a tiny little piece, but if it contains sufficient microscopic markings, yes, we could make identifications.
Well, sir, can you explain to us what you mean by class character?
Yes, each item do have their agency item numbers.
And then at FDLE, do you also generate your own numbering system when you receive these items?
Yes, because normally the agency has item number. There's
18-year-old girl got off to an explosive start as.
All right, he got to get cut short. I didn't know he was just a regular expert person just talking about what he did all his life. We're going to end it with her mom again because I think that's the best way to do it. So let's do it that way. Appreciate y'all, family.
Prosecutors revealed the motive. Alexia Alexander was killed 3 years ago, and prosecutors have charged Ronny Walker with capital murder. But the defense says he is not the man they should be looking at. Fox 13's Evan Axelbank is live at the Hillsborough County Courthouse to unpack opening statements today. Evan, what they have to say?
Well, prosecutors say that Walker was mad that his relationship with Alexia had been exposed. The defense says that police bullied an accomplice into lying about who pulled the trigger.
Alexia Alexander.
Maybe the only central fact not in dispute in this courtroom is that Alexia Alexander was too young for any of this.
Revoked. He was about to be. Just tell me that. And then, and only then, you will hear that Robert Creed, for the first time, changes his story and says, that's exactly what happened. And from there on out, Robert Creed mimics, repeats what the detective had told him.
Ask you, do you know or did you know Alexia Alexander?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know her?
I was her mother.
Okay, and were you her biological mother?
No.
How did you come in contact with Alexia Alexander?
I adopted her.
And how did you go about that process?
I was her foster mother.
If you could look this way, ma'am. Okay, thank you. You were her foster mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How long were you her foster mother?
2 years.
2 years. When did you become Alexia Alexander's foster mom? What age was she?
She was 2.
She was
2 years old.
2 years old. In the foster, when you go through the foster mother process, does it automatically go to a point where you can then adopt the child, or how did it happen in this particular situation?
She went through the foster care. Her parents lost legal rights, and I was able to adopt her.
Her parents did what?
Lost their legal rights.
Okay. And you were able to adopt her?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you make the decision to do so?
I fell in love with Alexia and her sister.
Okay. How old was Alexia when she was ultimately adopted?
4.
And you said that you fell in love with her and her sister. How old was her sister?
1.
Okay. How old were you when you adopted Nalexia Alexander and her sister?
I was 27.
You were 27 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have other children?
No, ma'am.
Were you married?
No, ma'am.
You just elected to adopt 2 children?
Yes, ma'am.
On your own?
Yes.
Asking you about her father.
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Okay. And did that lead you to then have a conversation with Nalexia?
Yes, ma'am.
And at some point, did you tell her that she was adopted?
Yes.
Sustaining objection.
Did you have a conversation with Nalexia about her biological parents?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And based on that, did that cause some type of reaction from Nalexia?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll ask you again. Did that cause some kind of reaction from Nalexia?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that reaction?
She started running away.
Okay. And do you personally know why she was running away?
Looking for her parents.
Okay. At what age did she begin to do this?
11.
Okay. And when this would happen, when Nalexia would run away, did you file any type of report or notification?
Every time.
I'll sustain that.
Okay. Did you make it clear to the police that she was running away?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
Okay. Was, when you received that call, was Nalexia Alexander at home on that day?
No, ma'am, she was not.
Okay. Based on that phone call, did you have to respond to a particular location?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Where did you respond to?
East 29th and Lake.
Okay. And is that in the Belmont Heights area?
It is.
Okay. And did you come in contact with anyone when you went to that location?
Other than the police department and Alexi.
Okay, so you came in contact with law enforcement and Alexia?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have you had an opportunity to listen to the April the 23rd, 2022 911 call?
Yes, ma'am.
And the individual that called 911, do you recognize the voice of that person?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that person?
That was not Lexi. It was Lexi. It was Lexi.
Okay. And you call her Lexi, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. But her official name is Nalexia?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the phone number that she called from, this 813-447-6234, is that a number that you had bought the phone for?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so that's a number you were not aware of, is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Are you familiar with the area that you picked up Nalexia, this Belmont Heights area?
Yes, ma'am.
You are familiar with that area?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you familiar with that area?
I'm from East Temple, and I have family that stays in Belmont Heights.
Okay. Well, I would like to publish State Exhibit 3A1, Your Honor. Thank you.
The hair, the ponytail.
Okay. Who is that?
That's Lexi, not Lexi.
Okay. Do you recognize this vehicle
No, ma'am, I do
that
not.
she's walking towards? Okay. Publishing State Exhibit 3B. Do you recognize the individual depicted in this video?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is that?
That's not Alexia.
Okay.
That's not Alexia.
Okay. And do you recognize her in any particular way, based on any particular thing?
Her walk, her hair,
Okay.
skin tone.
Okay. Do you recognize this?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Do you recognize this vehicle?
No, ma'am, I do not.
This vehicle here, do you recognize it?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Did you know, and I'm talking about in May of 2022, did you know Ronny Walker?
No, ma'am.
Did you know Robert Creed?
No, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I have a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
What?
Dr. Yemenich,
No, we have no questions. Thank you, ma'am.
may this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yo, shout out to everybody who showed up. Appreciate y'all. Shout out to all today's stream sponsors. Appreciate you. Laugh Now, Cry Later, TSC, Lord Tat 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 Clouds, Joni 4. And shout out to everybody in the chat. Joni 4, Stacy Sibbett, appreciate you showing up. FFS, appreciate you. Cat Knot Williams, appreciate you showing up. Late Night Baking with Mookie Mookie, appreciate you, family. Shout out to Cha Diggy. Shout out to Jazzy T. I appreciate y'all, family. Tat Tat Tat, Lord Tat Tat Tat, appreciate you. Cat Knot Williams. Let's see who else I see. That look like about it. Late Night. Brown Sugar, babe. Lady L, shout out to you. Appreciate you. And everybody else, sorry if I miss your name. I'm just scrolling through, but I appreciate y'all showing up. And yeah, like I said, I got all the content of this case covered. So if y'all need to catch up, just go ahead and tap in. Oh, Vernicia Williams. Vernicia, I see you too. She said, hey, much love, much love. Appreciate all y'all, family. Everybody who showed up. And until next time, yo, stay fresh and stay blessed. Peace out. Try motherfucking Diggy.
He arose, never hated friend or foes, just a subtle art and not giving a fuck. Chasing down my goals, I self-law am master, supernatural disaster, metaphysical reaction. I am the flesh, I am the God.
Yeah, my black is golden.
Winters and cold summers, Black Force One,
Jazzy T.
all stay home at a club jumping. What up, cousin? I see you, fam.
Late Night
Throw
Bake.
slime coins on the watch.
Shout out to No One in the Bush.
Come and tap in the most interactive.
Rock Solid TV.
I am the God. gon' get the lights up. You can sub, you can share, tell them pack in. Feeling left, right, front to the passenger side.
Joni
Right
Ford.
here, how you know? Cause them boys
Love, peace, and joy, family.
Talk about it, hit the link right here. Slide coins up, got 100 bands. Mars eyes, watch how the check. And the band made love to a bobblehead. 2 bands do a dance like check. I'ma keep going till I'm motherfucking tired. You what? I'm motherfucking tired. Slide brother side, could we rain down game? Like, what you mean? Just watch the rise. Watch the rise. Watch the rise. I am the flesh.
Factual lie on the replays.
I am the God. I am the flesh. I am the God. Flesh of the God. I see one. 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 I am the flesh. I am the God. I am the flesh. I am the God.